Welcome to the Worshipped Woman podcast. I am your host, kellykristin. I am a life and relationship coach, deep healing facilitator, and subconscious change expert. On this podcast, we will dive deep into personal growth, transformation, and relationships, releasing patterns of toxicity, codependency, and people-pleasing as we explore what it means to be the worshipped woman. If you are ready to heal, embody your worth, and raise your standards in life and love, you are in the right place. I am so happy to have you here. Now, let's get started. Hello, sisters. Welcome back to the Worshipped Woman podcast. I am your host, kellykristin. I am so happy that you are here. I'm so grateful that you are here, that you decided to spend a little time with me today. And today we have another AKA Ask Kelly Anything episode. These are listener questions. If you have a question that you would like for me to answer, you can actually submit a question on my website specifically for the podcast, and I will actually put a link to it in the show notes. If you feel like you want my guidance, you want my assistance, you want to be able to get to the bottom of something and figure something out for yourself, and if I feel like it would help other people to talk through it, you will get a whole podcast episode all about your question. So it is best that you can be as specific as possible when you put your questions in, and then that way it just gives me a lot to go off of. But today is a very important question and something that I feel like probably a lot of you might have felt or are currently feeling. So the question reads this: I have gone 40 years of my life not feeling worthy. I have allowed others to treat me in a manner of using me. How do I change this dynamic? Okay, so this is obviously an important topic, right? And when I read something like this, my first thought is, well, good thing that you have some awareness around this, right? You have the awareness that you don't feel worthy. You have the awareness that you have been letting people use you. And awareness is the first step to change. And because when we become aware of a dynamic, or we become aware of how we are feeling, that opens us up to a new choice. When we live our life completely unconsciously, just kind of, going through day to day, going through the motions, and we're not aware of how we're feeling, we're not aware of how we show up, we're not aware of ourselves at all, we don't have any other choice but just to keep doing what we've been doing and to keep on keeping on, right? Once we become aware, well, now we have a new choice. And worthiness is a choice. Now, this is something that I talk about extensively in my Worthy Woman workshop, which is a 3-day workshop that's going to actually help you release some things in your subconscious mind and really shift your identity to that, to a woman that has worth. You can check that out. I will put that in the show notes. But this is important because we have choice. Nobody can tell us that we are worthy or not worthy but ourselves. Because even if everybody else in the world thought that you were worthy and thought that you were worth being treated really well, if you didn't feel that within yourself, it would not matter what other people think about you, because how you feel about yourself is what matters most. How you feel about yourself, how you identify, what you believe about yourself, you are going to continue to see in your reality, because that's what your brain is actually looking for. Your subconscious mind, if you feel like I'm not worthy, your subconscious mind is going to find things in your life that amplify that for you, because it actually makes you right. That's how your mind works. So we really do need to get into your subconscious, because the thing is that if you're feeling that you're not worthy, And that's been the reality. And that's the world that you live in. And that's all that you see is a reflection of your unworthiness because you have beliefs that say that you are not worthy. So you see that in your reality. We have to work on the beliefs. So my question to you would be, well, if you were worthy, what would you believe about yourself? And really journaling that out, getting to the bottom of that. Of course, I'm going to suggest that you do the Worthy Woman workshop because we can actually get into your subconscious and release some things. But if for some reason that's not possible for you, then I would ask yourself, well, if I was worthy and if I was living in a place where I knew I was worthy, what would I believe? What would I believe about myself? And really start there. And can you get yourself on board with believing something different? Because the thing is, and by you telling me I've been this way for 40 years, and maybe I'm wrong with this, but I'm just sort of picking up the hint of like, this is who I am. This is the way it is. This is just my life. A little bit almost of not really taking the personal responsibility and initiative to change that. Because when you want to move in a new direction, you need to decide that that is what you are going to do. If you all of a sudden decided, you know what, I'm worthy no matter what, and started living your life in the reflection of that and started repeating that to yourself over and over and over again, what would change? What would actually change in your life if you could really, really step into that? And there's another piece here that I want to talk about where you say, and I've let people use me. So again, you have the awareness around that, and I think that that's great. And what you're really talking about here is not having boundaries. Not having boundaries. Boundaries are complex, they're involved. Unfortunately, most people don't have any boundaries and they don't have a standard for how they will be treated. Again, this is something that you choose. You choose how you allow people to treat you. And just because somebody has treated you one way doesn't mean that you can allow them to continue to treat you that way. If you've tolerated certain behavior in the past, you do not have to continue to tolerate that behavior into the future. You, at any moment, can say, hey, actually, no, this does not work for me. This is not what I desire. This is not what I want. And you know what? I have the right to set boundaries. I have the right to decide who gets to be in my life. What if you looked at your life as it was an absolute privilege to be with you? It was an absolute privilege to be in your energy. What is that? What could that do for you? And so there's a lot of nuances in this question and things that I kind of wish I could follow up question you on with. Do you have people-pleasing tendencies? If you have that, because oftentimes when we feel like people are using us, and this is important, we feel like people are using us, but it's actually we don't have the boundary to say, no, I don't want to do this. So we do things that we actually don't want to do. We do things that we're like, yeah, I'd really don't want to do this, right? But we go into this people-pleasing state. And if you haven't listened to the podcast episode where I talk about what people-pleasing, I would listen to that, because people-pleasing is really saying, I would rather feel resentment towards you and rather feel like you used me than to deal with the own guilt or selfishness I might feel for standing up for myself. And so I just want you to consider that. And here's the deal. It's not easy to set boundaries if you've never set them before. It's a learning process. But overall, what I want to tell you is that you have the right to teach people how to treat you. And you teach people how to treat you by how you allow them to treat you. There is nothing that says because you have been a certain way for 40 years that you can't change that you can't say, hey, this doesn't work for me and let me step into that. I am worthy. I am deserving. I am enough. And if I live from that place of like, this is my truth, this is who I am, this is the absolute truth. I know that I haven't been living that way, but this is actually what's real. This is actually what's true. How would I act if that were true? Who am I if that were true? What does my life look like if that were true? And the magic is that you actually just start showing up in your life as if that were true. Knowing that some of your relationships that you might have are going to need to change. And the people in your life that are not reflections of those truths of you might not like how you decide to change. That's okay, because people that have been violating our boundaries, people that have been in a place of taking advantage of us, when we do start to stand up for ourselves, they get upset. That's okay. That's fine. I mean, really, do you need people in your life that get upset if you take care of yourself? Do you need people in your life that get upset if you stand up for yourself and decide to love yourself a little bit more? I don't really think so. And so this can start with just the energy, start with the possibility of like, what would my life look like if I was actually worthy? What would my life look like if I had standards for how I allow people to treat me? And then how can I embody that? And so if this is you, or if you're in a similar position, I would absolutely recommend for you to take the Worthy Woman workshop. It is totally going to break down what are the constructs that I'm holding around worth, around what it means to be deserving, around what it means to be enough. And then I actually take you through a hypnosis subconscious release process of releasing the core wound of not being enough, because I find that when we don't feel worthy, some part of us doesn't believe that we're enough. And if we walk around with that belief of I am not enough, I will never be enough, then we're going to continue to see that in our lives. So it is one thing to be able to do the affirmations and to say I am worthy and deserving and enough, and start acting that way in your life. And it can really help you a lot when we actually get to the root cause of that belief in your subconscious and release it. And then in the workshop, you also get a second hypnosis where I actually help you to reprogram your mind to believe that you are worthy, deserving, enough, and really walk you through the process of how to step into that identity of the worthy woman. That's what it's really, really all about. That's a process that literally anyone can do. But it starts first with that decision, the decision of I'm going to change this. I am worthy. This is my life, and I am going to live it how I want. I'm going to live it with people that love me and care for me. And I don't want to feel like people are using me. I don't want to feel like resentment all of the time. And the truth is that you do not have to. You don't have to live your life like that. So I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, and you know another sister that needs to hear this message, I ask that you please share it. And if you would be so kind to leave a 5-star rating and review on iTunes, I would be just the absolute most grateful to you. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you soon.